This episode is proudly supported by Fine Food Australia. It's only a few weeks until Fine Food Australia, the country's leading trade event for food service and hospitality, is back on in Sydney. As a professional in the food industry, you know the importance of staying ahead, discovering new trends, connecting with suppliers, and finding the inspiration to move your business forward. For over 40 years, Fine Food Australia has been the ultimate destination for chefs, restaurateurs, cafe owners, food retailers, and distributors alike. With over 900 exhibitors across 12 product categories, featuring both local and global brands, Fine Food Australia is where you'll find what's next, what's new, and what's driving the food industry forward. Make sure you register online before the 8th of September to secure free trade entry, so you don't have to pay $45 at the door. Don't miss Fine Food Australia on from the 8th to the 11th of September at ICC Sydney Darling Harbour. For more information, go to www.finefoodaustralia.com.au.
This career has given me so much, that's why when I get the opportunity, I always put my hand up to give back where I can, because, at the end of the day, if you keep taking, there's going to be not much left. But if you keep, sowing the seeds, and the crop becomes very abundant, it's great for everybody.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. This is Dirty Linen, and whatever time you are listening, wherever I find you, my name is Dani Valent, and it is a thrill to be with you for an episode of my food podcast. Thank you so much for being with me. On this show, we chat about all things to do with food, hospitality, connection, the nitty-gritty, the good things, the difficult things. It is all part of the conversation. I am thrilled to be chatting to Fernando Sanchez today. Fernando is the chef at Opera Bar. Now, it does not get more iconic than the Sydney Opera House, and Fernando has been head chef of the all-day Opera Bar for more than 5 years. The restaurant is part of the Solotel group. It overlooks Circular Quay. Fernando has a glittering career. He was named National Chef of the Year at the AHA Awards for Excellence in 2023. He's a huge advocate for reducing food waste, and despite running a busy all-day venue, is a big advocate for work-life balance. Fernando, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So good to have you on the show. Give us a little insight into life as executive chef at Opera Bar.
Chaos. No, it is a highlight of my career. I've been doing this for about 22 years now. No day is like the other. It is an absolute pleasure to work here day in and day out. Like, the view's not bad either. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. I'm staring out into the harbour today. It is a stunning day here in Sydney. The sun is shining, the place is packed, and the vibes are great. And those vibes that the customers bring just flow on into the kitchen, and we just have a great time, every single day and every single service. I always treat every service like people are coming to my home. I'm South American, and we love throwing a party, so every service is just a big party here down at the Opera House.
I imagine so many of your customers are there for that lifetime moment. They're one and done. This is their big Sydney meal overlooking the harbour. And then, of course, you've got the Sydney-siders or people that are frequent visitors. Like, how do you sort of balance those different customer segments, and how do you ensure that everybody is having the time that they want to have?
Look, at the end of the day, first of all, when it comes to the food and the offering, we listen to our customers. Like, we look at the data, we look at customer feedback and reviews, and see what they want, and make sure that the food is not just reflective of what the customers want, but also reflective of Matt Moran's ethos, which I'm lucky enough to work underneath such a accomplished chef. It's there's that, and then there's the consistency and the systems that we make sure that we have in place. And doesn't matter if we got, a rainy day and it's a bit quieter than normal, like it has been recently in the past couple of months, or if it's a beautiful day like today and it's pumping and it's heaving, we make sure that everything that goes out is exactly the same. The pace of the food, the pace of the service. So it doesn't matter what day, what time you come, that it is exactly the same. It's going to be exceptional and a phenomenal service.
What kinds of things do the customers love? Like, what are the bolted to the menu dishes that you could never take away?
Oh, here, the fish and chips are almost like iconic. I'm not even going to lie. But, people and any of the seafood, really, we make sure that all our seafood is Australian and ethically sourced. So people love that about it. You think of Australia, you think of seafood, you're right next to the harbour. Unfortunately, you got to watch out for those pesky seagulls because they will come get you. But but other than that, our seafood here is almost like a classic. Like it's always rotating. Like we've always got a couple of sort of different sort of crudo dishes and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to oysters, they have Sydney Rock oysters are always on the menu. Then, like I said, the fish and chips, calamari, just kind of crowd pleasers, and then we got to have a bit of fun with some different things like a ceviche, or over winter we did a salmon gravlax over winter that we cure in house. Then, it's just keeping it fresh, simple and seasonal.
Fernando, you mentioned you've got a South American background. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you've ended up at this iconic location, frying the fish and opening the oysters.
I've told this story before. My mum usually hates it because everyone's always like, "Oh, you're South American. You must have got cooking inspiration from your mother." And to be honest, no, I wasn't. But I was inspired by my godfather. He's Chilean. That's where I'm from Chile. But he also has Italian heritage. So, he was always cooking, and he would look after me when I was younger. So I was always kind of like that curiosity where I was like, he's cooking the same thing that my mum cooks, but it tastes better. Why does it taste better? It was that kind of like that, trying to figure out what is he doing that's different. So any opportunity I would spend time in the kitchen with him. And then later on in life, my grandmother also moved to Sydney, and then she is a phenomenal cook. So then I would spend time with her. But it was always something that I loved doing. I remember being 6 years old, and while my cousins and everyone were out playing soccer and everything, I was in the kitchen with my aunties or my godfather or my grandmother. It was just something that always spoke to me. It was, I guess it was that, that sense of community, that sense of family, sitting at the table, eating together, having a laugh, having a good time, music's playing in the background, and everybody finishes and starts dancing and, having a drink or two. And I always loved it. And I was always drawn by food in the kitchen.
I see why your mum doesn't love that story.
No.
Why? It's one thing to love the kitchen and gathering around food. It's another thing to do it professionally. Was it an obvious choice for you to have a career as a chef?
Yeah, it kind of was. I started really young, in high school, I put my hands up to the food tech and the hospitality and all that sort of stuff. And the more I kept diving into it, the more I enjoyed it. At 14, I started working in fast food, and just that sort of pace of working in fast food, I really, really enjoyed and appreciated. So then I tried to, at 15 years of age, I tried to leave school in year 10. I went out all of summer. I went 2-3 times a week during school holidays and tried to give my resume and try to find an apprenticeship. And it just didn't happen. Nobody wanted a first year apprentice. Everybody wanted second year apprentices, but it's that catch for me too. How do you become a second year apprentice if they won't take a first year apprentice? So I went and just got on a train every day and just got off at different stops and just started handing my resume out. I would have handed out at least 200 resumes. I'm not even joking. trying to find an apprenticeship, and it didn't happen. So my parents were like, look, you're not staying at home and you're not bludging around, so you got to start year 11. So I started year 11. Second week of year 11, they sent me to do work placement, and that was it. That was it for me. I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. This is my calling. I'm 110% committed. So without telling my parents, I left school.
Whoa.
Yeah. I left school. I started working full-time at the fast food place. And in between there, I was still handing out my resume. Then 2 weeks later, that same place where I did my work placement, they had an apprentice at the time. They called me and were like, hey, come in for a chat. So I went in for a chat. The apprentice that they had cut his finger, fainted, was like, this isn't for me. So they offered it to me instead.
Wow, I love that persistence and a slight element of sneakiness, perhaps. But what was it about just landing there and just knowing that it was for you? Like, what made you so certain?
That I would, for the first time in my life, get up excited to go and be somewhere.
Amazing.
Like, I know this is crazy, but like I was never one for school. I was, and you know, people, you know, see where I'm at now, and you know, I'm sure if you talk to my finance team and the HR team, they would have thought that I'm a bookworm, but I was never one for school. I never liked it. I would always try and make an excuse not to go. I'd always skip school and get in trouble when I got caught. Like I wasn't a good student. But then this thing, like, I don't know what it was about it. It excited me. Like I got home, couldn't stop talking about being in the kitchen. It's all I thought about. Would wake up early just to make sure that I was there early, not even on time, like an hour early, because I was that keen to be there.
That's amazing. So, Fernando, obviously you're leading a team now. Do you see kids like you? Do you think times have changed? You know, tell me about, you know, being a leader of people who, you know, must be in a similar position to yourself back in the day.
So, look, recently I've, over the past couple of years, I've been working a lot with work placement kids. Been inviting them into Opera Bar, and so they can get that taste like I did, because you know it's a bit personal for me. That's how I started off. That's how I realized what I wanted to do with my future. And I've had this talk before where I have a lot of chefs complaining, especially after COVID, that you know there's not many skilled staff out there, and there's not many chefs out there willing to work or whatever it may be, and you know, it's all great to say that, but like, what are we doing about it? What are any of us doing about it as an industry? What are we doing about it as a collective? So, you know, what I do is I do get the work placement kids. And, you know, I get two to three students a week from various high schools. And if I can inspire some, I've done my job, you know. And then you've got a lot of international students that come in and, you know, they're looking for jobs. They've been studying for 6 months. Most places would just say, nah, you don't have enough experience. I take them on board. So, and sometimes my sous chefs are like, chef, are you sure? Like, we need a bit more experience. I'm like, well, if we give them time and we give them what they need and we give them the tools to succeed, they're going to be invaluable.
I mean, it's so interesting, Fernando, and it's so great to hear you say this because, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, people are always complaining about the lack of not only skilled staff, but motivated young people. You know, it's all kids these days. But from what you're saying, it sounds like there are ways of opening people up to the pleasures or the benefits of hard work, of learning, of looking to mentors. Like, how do you open someone's mind to that pathway?
This goes down to what you said before about, you know, kitchen culture. It's about having an inclusive environment. You know, the first thing that I say when the kids call me is, you know, I'm like, we're not one of those kitchens. We're not one of those kitchens that are yelling and screaming and, you know, berating people just for the sake of doing it. I'm like, this is a safe space. if you lean into it, you're just going to have a lot of fun. I'm like, to be honest, most of the times when the kids come here, they always say at the end of the week, like, we don't want to go back to school. Like, this is actually a lot of fun and we enjoy doing this. I've been in trouble before, and I'll say it again, and Solotel will probably message me because I've said this on another podcast, but like my one condition in this kitchen is I've got a no dickhead policy. So if anybody comes in and they start acting, aggressive, any sort of negative behavior, they're gone real quick. And my team know all about that. So if we get like a new team member and they start changing or messing with the kitchen culture in there that I've worked very hard to build, I've got an open door policy. They will come and tell me straight away. And I've made it very clear, and I've fired somebody on the spot for being aggressive, or I've done it many years ago where somebody just said something racist, and I was like, that's not good enough in my kitchen. See you later. That's against our work policy. So give me your pass, and thank you very much.
That's really strong. I mean, Fernando, was this approach born out of hard times, things that you saw that you didn't want to emulate or you didn't want to see around you? Or, were you brought up in kitchens that are similar to the one that you're running?
No, to be completely honest, I've gone through some hard times. I think we've all worked for some pretty, not so great and nasty employers in the past. So I'm that kind of guy that I love to learn. It doesn't matter how good or bad the situation is, I'll take something from it. And sometimes in those crappy environments, what you take is what not to do. So, I've been lucky enough, and I've had the full support of Solotel, and even my group exec, Laura, who is absolutely phenomenal, has always really pushed me to make this kitchen better. She used to run it before I did, and she handed the reins over to me. So she started the process, and then has always supported me to continue. So I've been lucky enough that I have kind of built this kitchen to kind of the ideal kitchen that I would have liked to have been taught in and kind of gone up through the ranks in.
Sometimes you hear people say, well, that's all well and good, but, it's really hard to maintain standards without an iron fist. What would you say to that sort of attitude?
Look, it is hard, but it's about tact. It's about narrative. It's about the way that you speak. Sometimes you have to be stern. Sometimes the blunt, honest truth is a powerful tool, but doesn't mean you have to be nasty about it. Doesn't mean you have to belittle people and make them feel like absolute crap. You know what I mean? You can still get the message across in a stern way. Sometimes, like I said, even blunt and honest. But I've had situations like we spoke about me terminating people. I have terminated someone, and they've shook my hand and thanked me for the opportunity because I had done it in such a respectful way that they left still with their head held high, and they appreciated everything that I did and the honesty that I gave them, rather than being nasty or pussyfooting around and kind of trying to avoid the topic.
I know that you're big on women in the kitchen. You mentioned Laura that you admire so much. And also, I know you're big on work-life balance. Can you talk about what you see around you in terms of women in the kitchen, women in the industry, what the challenges are and how you make it work at Opera Bar? So
having kids is obviously... let's go straight to the topic. Having kids is one of the biggest fears. I've seen that so many years where a lot of my friends that are amazing chefs when it came time to wanting to start having kids or trying for kids, were already counting the kitchen out. And, mind you, we're talking about 20 years ago, but, I'm sure the problems are still out there where they start thinking, okay, I can't be a chef and be a mother at the same time. I've got 4 kids myself, and the mother of my first 3 is also in hospitality. So we struggled, and we saw what it was like trying to manage having children and being 2 hospo parents. So again, it's something that's a bit near and dear to my heart. I've seen a lot of friends leave the kitchen where they were honestly some of the best chefs that I have ever worked with. because they thought that it was an industry that wouldn't support them and it was something that was never going to be able to fit within their lifestyle. My 2IC here as well, Naomi, she is an absolute gun, and she is the most incredible mother, incredible chef. She has the two most beautiful girls. For example, her eldest was going to start school this year. And last year we were all, we weren't, but she was kind of freaking out a little bit about how we're going to make it work and, what are we going to do? And I'm just like, you are honestly one of the best chefs that I've ever worked with. You think I'm going to, you think I'm going to let you go? You think I'm going to stress you out? I said, look, we will make it work. Yeah. At the end of the day, we as an industry need to, be a bit more flexible, be a bit more inclusive when it comes to mothers and women in the workplace, and just in general. Like, at the end of the day, if the work gets done, isn't that all that really matters? Like, corporate has been doing it for so long, and hospitality has always been a bit structured in terms of hours, and you have to be here for this and you have to be here for that, and all that sort of stuff. But if you delegate properly and we just hand things over and communicate effectively within the wider team, and the job gets done, doesn't matter what hours, what time, what flexibility you need, as long as it gets done, that's the matter of fact.
I guess one of the things that helps mums is engaged dads who are also involved in all the school activities and all that kind of stuff. You're a father yourself, as you mentioned. Like, what about yourself and being a dad? Like, have you been able to structure your own working life to incorporate a fair amount of, child rearing?
Oh, 100%. Look, I'll be the first to put my hands up and say, my first three, I was probably a bit too committed to the job. I could have been a better father. Let me reword that. Could have been a more presence father. But I was married to my job, and I was too focused on the job and the career. Now, look, I'm a bit older, a bit wiser. I look after myself as well, and I make sure that, with my son now, who's just turned 1, I'm there, and I want to be there for every moment, because I missed out on so much on the first 3. That I'm, this is almost a second chance, and I'm not gonna screw that up again. But again, like, I've been running this beast, and I'm making it happen. I'm making it work, and if I have to go home and do the bedtime routine, cook dinner, and then get back onto the computer after he's down for bed and finish my night off, then like that's what I have to do. But I'm not going to miss out on those precious moments.
I think it's an amazing message to send to your team as well. Is it hard to manage a roster when you are when you do prioritize flexibility?
No, not at all. Absolutely not at all. I encourage that, and it comes from the top down, right? So I'm making sure that they see that I'm not only looking after myself, but I'm also looking after the team. And then I push it down. Like, I'm the type of guy that starts looking at hours, and I'm like, guys, 38 hours, like, get out of here. I don't want you to do too much overtime. Like, I'm pushing them, and I'm creating that sort of culture.
Yeah, I love to hear that. So, Fernando, let's talk about food waste. It's such a huge issue. It's a huge issue in industry, in households, but definitely in hospitality. Tell me, about any, like, what was it that you saw that made you want to tackle this seriously? So,
look, I've seen, honestly, here at Opera Bar, it's a beast. It's so busy. We do so many covers. It's a 1,800 capacity venue. So I'm sure you can only imagine how many covers we do on the daily. And what I could see, and unfortunately the things that I don't have much control over, is the amount of food that was coming back from the plates. And that's, people are over ordering. and there's not much that I can do about that. But what I can control is the prep in my kitchen and what we do with it. So I was lucky enough that End Food Waste Australia contacted Solotel, and I'd already been doing a bit of work in the sustainability sector along with the Opera House. So when they contacted Solotel, Mark over in head office was like, "Cool, I've got the right guy for this project. Let's see if he wants to get on board." And I was just like, "Hell yeah! Like let's do this."
So what do you do?
Okay, so basically, what we managed to do was there was a bit of a delay. So this started about this time last year, just around the time that I was about to go into parental leave. So there was a bit of a delay. We wanted it to start before Christmas, but due to me going on parental leave, we had to wait like about 3 months. But that was good because while I was on parental leave, I was already starting to think about operationally how were we going to do it. So I was still in talks with them while I was on parental leave, trying to figure out what we were going to do. And the first point of protocol was to measure the waste and actually measure what was coming back. But due to the high volume, we couldn't just have somebody standing there with a scale and a piece of paper to just measure everything that was going in the bin. So End Food Waste introduced us to a company in Switzerland called Kitro. Now the Kitro system it's incredible. So basically you place a bin on top of a scale. Above that bin, there is a camera that has AI capabilities. So every time you throw something in, it weighs it. The camera takes a photo of it. The AI figures out what it is that you've thrown in the bin, and then it records that data onto the cloud drive for you. So I can log in and get live updates of what's been thrown out, and where we're sitting at for the day.
So let me guess, chips.
Yeah. So chips are the biggest thing that are coming back from our plates. But then, little things that we kind of realized, which were, so from our raw bar, our sashimi section, we had the belly and stuff from the tuna that was getting wasted. So then we changed and manipulated the menus. We were able to then confit that tuna, add that tuna into a salad. So then it was no longer a wasted product. Other things that we saw were citrus fruit from the bar, which was getting wasted, and we're talking about a couple of 100 kilos a month. We then started turning that citrus fruit into a homemade lemon lime cordial for the lemon lime bitters over the bar. Then once we removed that fruit, we will then, the pulp from the fruit, we would then cook it further, make a puree out of that, and then we started making a citrus almond cake to sell on the menu. So then that 200 kilos of citrus fruit has now become a zero waste product.
That is so cool. I've looked at some of the stats from your this program. It says in the first month, waste dropped from 69 grams to 46 grams per cover, a 33% reduction, and kitchen-generated waste fell from 32% to just 10%, which is really stark. Like the financial impacts must be considerable.
Oh yeah, it was massive. Like I'm not going to get into finances, but it was a hefty number. That's for sure. And the bosses were happy.
We love that. Now, I know you're chatting at Fine Food. September 10, you've got a session, Fernando, food waste equals money, making waste control effortless. So anyone who's heading to Fine Food should definitely check that out. I mean, did you find that simply putting a lens on food waste made staff and perhaps even customers, if they were aware of it, just tackle the problem naturally?
Yeah, 100%. So my biggest thing, and the reason why I wanted to get on top of it, was I knew that there was a problem. Like I saw how quickly those bins were getting full every day. So I remember having our first meetings with everybody, with End Food Waste and with Kitro over in Switzerland, and I said I wanted that bit of shock and awe. Like I wanted to see what the reality was, because once I had that data, we could do something about it, and we can just keep doing better and keep trying to do better, and that's kind of the motto. So like with Kaitra, for example, we have monthly meetings, and then we have a breakdown. It's like, cool. So this, like last month we tackled this. This month we're going to tackle this. And it's about, kind of doing 2 to 3 things at a time and just slowly getting there. That way the team don't feel overwhelmed, rather than me going, here are the 20 items that we need to tackle and fix in the next 4 weeks. Otherwise, if you do that sort of thing and you overwhelm them and you freak them out, as we've seen with a lot of things, business, especially in hospitality, if it goes into the too hard basket, it gets forgotten about. People will stop doing it. This goes back to kitchen culture again. It's about implementing a positive kitchen culture and a positive sort of association with kitchen waste, rather than being like, oh, here's something else that we have to do. It's, talking about it, why are we doing it? Making them excited about it as I am. Then celebrating the wins. Like when this all came out, I let everybody know, because they could see, and there was numbers to put next to why, the hows and the whys. It's also, I find, in a lot of venues, like people ask me what can they do, and it's find your champion, find your sustainability champion. Like here I've obviously got myself, but now my sous chef team are also champions, and they believe in it because they've seen the results and they're excited about it. I was told about 2-3 months ago, when I did a panel for the city of Sydney to talk about waste as well, that my energy is infectious. And I never thought of it like that, but it is. Like if you find that champion and they have that energy and they just can keep on spreading that joy and, and giving off those positive vibes to everybody, it's infectious, and everybody wants to get on board. Like, it's a hit of dopamine at the end of the day, right? We all want to feel good and feel like we're doing a good thing.
Well, I think, going back to first principles, you said you love food because of the opportunities for gathering and just feeling good together. But I guess when you can see other impacts of the work that you're doing, that must make it extra satisfying. When you look at your work, Fernando, what is it that you love about what you do? Honestly,
there's so much of it. Like I enjoy nearly every aspect of my job. From the finances to the creating of food, to talking to suppliers, to marketing and having fun with the creativity side of things, to the people and culture, like my team and the training and development and seeing them grow. It's honestly, I feel blessed being in this place, because it's given me so much, and people ask those sort of like generic questions, like do you feel fulfilled? And like I can honestly say, most days, I'm not saying every day is a good day, but most days when I leave here, I feel like I've accomplished something. I feel like I can leave here with my head held high, and and I still come, just like I was at 15, 16 years old, I get excited about coming to work the next day.
I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom around about hospitality, how hard everything is. It sounds like that's not the vibe in your kitchen, which is very refreshing and heartening. What would you say to someone who is considering a career in hospitality, or perhaps wondering if they should make their part-time job and turn it serious?
It's not what it used to be. Don't believe everything you hear. Again, I said it before, I'm a high school dropout. I was a bit of a rat bag as a kid. Like, if you ask my teachers back in the day, I'm sure they would have told you that they're surprised that I'm not in jail. But I've made a very good life out of this. I've been able to travel the world. I've met some amazing people. I met my wife through work, through a work colleague. Like, I've, this career has given me so much. And, that's why when I get the opportunity, I always pull my hand up to give back where I can, because, at the end of the day, if you keep taking, there's going to be not much left. So you have to always, it's like, growing vegetables, right? Like if you keep taking and taking, it's going to become, there's not going to be much left. But if you keep, sowing the seeds, and the crop becomes very, very abundant, like it's great for everybody.
Love it, Fernando. Well, thank you so much for sowing the seeds with the audience today. Really wonderful to catch up with you. And I look forward to a meal at Opera Bar, clearing my plate because I'm not going to send any food back to your kitchen. Thank you so much for coming on the show for a chat today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. And next time with a bit more notice, I would have loved to have flown down to Melbourne for a day.
Oh, well, Melbourne is always here, but perhaps not as sunny as Sydney sounds like today. But no, we would welcome you anytime.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This